Good morning, KW. Happy Monday. It's Monday Motivation, and I am your host today, Sally Hayes, your assistant team leader, and we are still talking about the One Thing book. I'm coming to you from Hey Sweet Briar Patch, and hopefully Katie Bug will cooperate. She's been very good so far. So we're talking about living by priority, and for those of you watching, if you didn't read the section, it's sections starting on pages 146, and we're a good ways through the book. So I'm looking at what's next for us. And last week, the week before last, I was at Mega Camp, and before that, we talked about living on purpose. And I know that kind of tied in with our event that we had with Dusty Oglesby and your purpose and living on purpose and in your purpose. There was a girl named Alice once upon a time, and she met a cat. And she said, "Hey, would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" And the cat said, that depends a good deal on where you want to go to. Like, where is that? And Alice says, "I don't much care. I really don't." And so the cat says, "Well, then it doesn't matter which way you go if you don't care where you're going." And Alice's classic encounter with the Cheshire Cat in Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventure in Wonderland reveals the close connection between a purpose and a priority. And so if you live with purpose, you know where you want to go. But living by priority, you know how to get there and what the roadmap is. So the question of what shall I do or what should I do, there's a big difference between the two. And shall will get you somewhere. What shall I do will get you somewhere, like Alice, I really don't care, right? And then what I should do will get you where you want to go. So when Gary looks at that, he started setting what he calls goal setting to the now. Because, sometimes, our life is driven by the purpose that we give it. And if we don't have priority around the purpose, then it's powerless. The purpose doesn't really matter. So it's interesting on page 147, Gary starts talking about the word priority and how that word has evolved over time. And he says that it's just the singular priority. It's not priorities, which it eventually changed to. So in the 14th century, the Latin word for prior means first, the thing that matters most, right? And over time, we ended up having priorities, which indicates we have a whole lot of things, right? And we talked about this previously when we talked about the one thing. So if something mattered the most, it was a priority. And then priorities started meaning a lot more. And so we changed the word priority over time in the 20th century to the most pressing matter, or the prime concern, or what's on the front burner. I've heard a lot of people say, "Well, I'm putting that on the back burner." Well, what's on the front burner is priority. So the most pressing matter. So today, he says, to really capture the essence of the real meaning of priority, we do goal setting to the now. What's the priority right now? We live it sometimes in the past, and we think about what's in the future. But right now is what really matters, and what we do in the moment gets us to where we want to go. So as you think about this, what's your language this week on that? And when you talk about priorities, what's on the front burner, all the things. And remember that you have that extraordinary question that we've learned from the one thing, and that is what matters. What can you be doing right now? So setting the top priority has always helped Gary get to his purpose. So he asked a great question. He's the master of question asking, right? On page 148, when he says, "Why do we set goals? Why do we do that?" So whenever he has a goal setting class, he asked that question. So why do we set goals and create plans? and all the good answers out there. He said the best answer, the one reason that we set goals is to be appropriate in the moments of our lives that matter. And remember, we talked about all the things in life, the relationships, the health, the spiritual, the business, all of those working together are all moments in your life. And how are you being appropriate in each one of those moments? I don't know if you've heard that phrase, be where your feet are, for instance. So being in the now instead of the future. So our past is but a former now, and our future is a potential now based on what we do in our right now. So you see how right now really matters, and what we're doing in the day today that drives this to goal setting to the now. So the future lies in stringing together powerful moments, one after the other, right? So he made an interesting point for those of you that read this on page 148, when he talked about offering the choice and how we humans, how we think. And it said that if you were offered a choice of $100 today or $200 next year, which would you choose? Think a minute about that. If you are going to get $100 today, I told you you could come in and see me, and I was going to give you $100, or you had to wait till next year. And if you did that, I was going to give you 200, right? So if your goal were to make the most money from the opportunity, you would pick the $200, right? But he says that strangely, most people don't make that choice. And they choose, they have the big rewards over small ones. You would think you would choose big rewards over small ones. But if we look at present rewards over future rewards, we usually pick the present rewards. We want instant gratification. And economists have known that for a long time, as he says on page 149. And that the preference for present rewards over future rewards, even if the future rewards are much higher, is really what happens, or if they're much bigger. So this is called hyperbolic discounting, because the further away the thing is, the reward is, the smaller it gets in our mind. So the $200 doesn't really seem that big if it's so far away. And that's why we make choices quickly like that, even though it would be logical to pick the $200. So we call that present bias, what's now in the present. So imagine the deteriorating impact of living this way every day could have on our future self. If we don't do the things, if we don't wait and we don't focus on the bigger return later. It's kind of like that marshmallow test video. I don't know if you've seen that. You could probably Google it or look for it on YouTube, where the little children are set in a room, and they are set in just in a room with nothing else but the table and chair and a plate with a big marshmallow on it. And the tester comes in and says, now, if you sit here, I think it's like 15 minutes, and you don't eat this marshmallow, you get 2 of them. So the hidden camera shows the children's dilemma. Some of them, they're sniffing the marshmallow. One was even like looking around going, should I eat this marshmallow? Is it worth waiting 15 minutes? It sure smells good. Licking the top of it and then pulling back. And then some of them are just like eating the marshmallow. I'm having it right now. I don't care about the marshmallow later. Who cares? So, and one of the things from that video, or that study, is because they watched those children over time. It was a long study. Those that didn't eat the marshmallow and waited it out did better in life with reaching goals and things like that. So it says, it turns out that what starts out as like marshmallows can cost you much more later on. So I think that's why he mentioned those. So the present bias overrides the logic of waiting it out for the bigger return, because we have hyperbolic discounting and we don't think that the future thing is really that important. So we take the instant gratification, whatever that looks like, in all the areas of our lives and our goal setting. So goal setting for the now, of course, Gary has a plan for you to do goal setting for the now. And some of you may have already gone to the One Thing resources on online, and you can certainly do that and sign up for their newsletter. I think they have a podcast, but on page 150, it allows you to go through the process of finding out what the goal setting to the now would be. And Gary says, whenever he has someone ask him, what should I do? What should I do right now? What should I do? I know all these things, but can you just tell me what to do? He just sits back and goes through these questions. And he said, ultimately, by the time he gets to the end, they have figured out what their goal setting to the now is. What's the one thing that they should do right now? And then he says, what are you standing here talking to me for? Go do that. So he encourages us to go through this process and read through it, because even though it feels like that's very mundane, it's setting your brain patterns up for thinking this way. And he wants you to hang in and take time to go through this process. You're training your mind how to think and to connect one goal to another over time, right? Until you know the most important thing to do right now. You're learning to think big, but to go small in the process. And it's a way to overcome your hyperbolic discounting, right? For the $100 to the $200 is when you take these steps, then you're not doing that anymore. You're not discounting what the future looks like. And it's a domino run, right? And it's planning. So let's think about it. So when you look at page 150, and if you go online, you will have like this as a sheet of paper. And what this also feeds into is 2 goal setting tools that you may or may not have heard us talk about. But as you spend some time with Keller Williams, you will hear us talk about a GPS, because it's an acronym, right? And we do love those here. GPS is goals, priorities, and strategies. So it takes, once you go through this exercise, it takes that and helps you build a plan, And a 411 takes that GPS and puts it into a 411, which 411 means what's your year? What could you do in a year? It chunks it down to a month, and then it allows you to operate 1 week at a time to get it done. So it helps you to have action. And that 411 translates over to your calendar for a time block. So there's sequential goal setting tools. So this is the beginning of you learning about the goal setting tools and working to apply them in your business or in your life. So someday goal. What's the one thing I want to do someday? Some days a big day, right? Some days big, some days that $200, okay? 5-year goal. What, based on my someday goal, what I just discovered, my one thing would be for someday. What's the one thing that I can do in the next 5 years to hit my someday goal, right? So based on my 5-year goal and the thing I just discovered, what's the one thing I can do this year to hit my 5-year goal? Then based on my 1-year goal, what is the one thing I can do this month to hit my 1-year goal? What's my big priority? And then based on my monthly goal, what's the one thing I can do this week that such by doing that, I will hit my monthly goal? And daily goal, based on that weekly goal, what's the one thing that I can do today to make sure that I hit my weekly goal? What's priority? And then finally, right now, the right now goal setting to the now. Based on my daily goal, what's the one thing I can do right now, right here in the present, to hit this daily goals? When I leave today, I feel good about that I did my one thing. I set a priority that is around my purpose. So when you go through those and you start thinking that way, it helps us to get out of the ruts that we set for ourselves in our brains, right? In our habits, that we naturally go back in the groove. Because a habit, remember we said that it takes on average about 66 days to create that. And when we don't create it, then we go back into our natural ruts and our grooves, just like a tire finds the ruts in the road and then it follows them, right? So this is just helping you change the way you think about now and future. and help you get out of that hyperbolic discounting. So people tend to be overly optimistic about what they can accomplish, and therefore most don't think things all the way through. Gosh, did he have a window into my soul in this book? So yeah, I think it applies to a lot of us, not just me. So that's the planning fallacy. We give ourselves way too much credit, right? That is why goal setting to the now really works. It takes us out of our natural entrepreneurial self and puts us into a purposeful self, our E to P, as it were. And what that does is it causes your domino run. So we've seen this graphic previously. When we focus on this first domino, the domino has the capability of knocking down bigger dominoes, which makes a scalable, huge, extraordinary life at the end. And you can see the right now, the 1 day, the 1 week, the 1 month, the 1 year, the 5 year, and the someday in the domino run when we operate this way consistently. Right, so that's on page 153 if you wanted to check that out. So, and you may have on this last page, you may have heard this quote before and this number before, but in 2008, Dr. Gail Matthews of the Dominican University of California recruited 267 participants from a wide range of professions. So they included nonprofit employees, marketers, lawyers, accountants, and from a variety of countries. And those who wrote down their goals were 39.5% more likely to accomplish them just by writing down your goals. And your most important priority is your final step to living by priority. So having that and looking at it gives you the edge on someone who doesn't do it. And I think this is very appropriate to talk about in a time where we're rolling into the fourth quarter, and it's traditional that we start thinking about crafting what our intentionality is going to be around our next year's goal. Guys, you're on a 90-day pipeline. If you didn't know, what you do today shows up in 90 days. So you really are already, what you're doing right now is showing up at the end of the year, the first of next year already. You're already in 2024. Does anybody else have their mind blown? All right. Did you guys know that September the 24th is Christmas in your business? Yeah. So we're not far off from that. So it's appropriate to start thinking about these things right now and setting up the habits about priority and purpose, because we want to get a jump on. We don't want to be talking about what are we going to do next year after Thanksgiving. Okay. When kids are on break and all the things, you're already tracking and working in 2024 in your pipeline. So go ahead and start thinking about it now and working on this section and goal setting for the now. So the big ideas or the takeaways from these pages on priority is there can only be one priority. Your most important priority is the one thing you can do right now that will help you achieve what matters most to you. And you have many priorities, but dig deep and you'll discover there is always one that matters most, that one that comes to the top, and it's your one thing. The number 2, goal setting to the now. Knowing your future goal is how you begin. Begin with the end in mind, identifying the steps you need to accomplish along the way, keeping your thinking clear while you answer the right priority you need to accomplish right now. You're always asking the right now question. Put pen to paper. So write your goals down and keep them close. And I love that, keep them close. And so this is a habit too, you guys. You guys know how many things we get across our desk, all the things, right? All the pieces of paper, all the emails. We get back in those ruts again. Remember the ruts? Our tires go into the ruts and we stay in that. So my coach is always asking me, and I empowered her to do that. Where's your 411? Gosh, it's in a folder. Why is it there? You're not looking at it. You've written it out. Yay. But you're not looking back at it. You don't have it right in front of you every day. Okay. So I have to tell you, we're not perfect. We all fall off of the straight and narrow we get into ruts, but truly having it in front of you is very impactful because it's top of mind awareness. So that's what he says. Keep them close. What does that mean? Can it be a screensaver on your phone? Can it be something on your wall? Is it laminated by your desk? But go back and find this list, this thing from the book, okay? The goal setting to the now. I might even have some in my office that are on paper because I love my school supplies. But this right here will help you kind of write that out and give you a roadmap to putting your thoughts on paper. And getting started with goal setting the now form is an appropriate thing. Once you know what to do, the only thing left is to go from knowing to doing. Thank you, Gary. Guys, this is going to be a fabulous Monday. And give me some feedback. I know nobody popped on here to hang out and chat with me today. It's okay. I hope you're watching it on Facebook Live and that you got some value today from talking about priorities and the One Thing book. And give me some feedback. Let me know you're there. Tell me good morning. I'll look at it later. I'll see you soon. Have a fantastic day.